Okay. All right. Here we go. Oh, god damn. Got him. Beautiful. Well, here we are, guys. As promised, a complete how-to video on fishing for walleye on the Detroit River. Before we get started, I just want to give you guys a quick update on what's going on this weekend with respects to weather. A cold front's moving in this evening, and by tomorrow morning, we're going to be hovering around freezing. The wind is going to steadily increase to around 65 kilometers an hour. So I was hoping to get this footage on the boat so I could explain it better, but that's not going to be the case. It's going to be rather uncomfortable tomorrow morning and into Sunday. So let's get started. Fishing walleye on the Detroit River. Now, in my opinion, this is probably North America's best walleye fishery. There are many different ways you can fish for walleye on the Detroit River. Some are very unique to this area, like hand lining. So click the link above if you have any questions on hand lining. Big John is probably our local expert. Next to Nick Obermont and Pond Predators is one of our local charters who is extremely experienced. When you get closer to the summer, a lot of fishermen bottom bounce. You can also troll each end of the lake at each mouth any time of the year. But the most productive form of fishing for walleye on the Detroit River is vertical jigging. And it happens to be also my personal preference. So we're gonna break it down in a few videos, and everything is gonna be specific to vertical jigging. Whether it's your rod and reel selection, your plastics, your jigs. We'll also dive into some boat etiquette while on the water. We'll talk about dialing in your electronics specific to vertical jigging, but the most important aspect in being successful on the water when vertical jigging for walleye is your boat control. Your rod, your gear, the color of your plastics, the size of your jig, nothing else matters, and you will not catch fish if you cannot keep your line straight. In theory, this is an extremely simple concept. However, on the water, it's not as practical as it seems. Get out there, stay away from the pack until you get the hang of it. Practice makes perfect, so let's dive into the concept. The concept is as simple as this. Whether you're using an electronic in the front or you're using your kicker in the back, you are facing your boat directly into the wind. Your boat will move with the current down the river and drift, and the wind is going to push you back. All you're doing is thrusting back into that wind to maintain that 90-degree vertical. As you feel bottom, you're bouncing up and down. Simple. In theory, you want to set your thrust according to the amount of wind. The higher the wind, the higher the thrust. The heavier the boat, the bigger the boat, the more thrust you need to catch up. But you don't want too much thrust where you overshoot your line and then you have to reverse your motor to catch back up. Now, sizing an electric motor for your boat takes a little bit of research. This is a 24-volt system with 70 pounds of thrust. Anything above 18 feet, especially if you're fiberglass, you want to consider a 36-volt system with 110 pounds of thrust. So, easier said than done. You have to remember, when you're actually on the water, especially on the weekends, there's a lot of boat traffic, there's a lot of fishermen out there. It could be overwhelming. You do have multiple fishermen on the boat. Fish are being caught, fish are being netted. You're trying to maintain, this is a remote system, one hand on the remote as you're jigging yourself. It does take a lot of practice, but practice makes perfect. If I can make a suggestion, try getting out during the week in the afternoon when boat traffic's pretty light. You can still be very successful right before dark and catch your limit. And this way it gives you a chance to get into different wind situations as you're making those drifts. Now, I can't express to you how important this is. You can have the most expensive boat, the most expensive rod and reel combo, all the best of everything. But if you cannot maintain vertical, then you will not catch fish. So don't think just because you're not into the mix with all the other boats that there's not fish at the end of those drifts or in the beginning of those drifts. You could be very successful staying away from all that boat traffic. And we can dive into that a little bit later when we talk about boat etiquette. So if you have any questions drop a comment below. Don't forget to turn your notifications on for the following videos. I think next we'll talk about your gear, rod and reel selection. Stay tuned.